Okay, so welcome to this tutorial course. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with going over our reference. Even though this is an advanced tutorial course, I still want to go over this because it is of course very important to know what we are going to be making, how we are going to be making it, and everything that comes with it. So, over here I have my main reference. We will be making a assault rifle. I'm not going to give it a name because we are actually going to combine multiple pieces from different assault rifles. It would be more in the direction of like the AR-15, M4 variants, everything in that direction. But I'm from a country where guns are illegal, so I'm not the biggest gun expert, to be honest. But still, I do love just the way that they look and just the complexity of them and the way that they work. So, this is going to be our main reference image. This is because we are going to use a pretty old technique where we will be creating a plane inside of 3ds Max and displaying our reference on this so that we can model from that. For very complex models like this is often just a very good way to work. But I have way more reference images over here. So as I said before, we are going to be combining pieces. So for example, in this reference image, I do not like how the front barrel looks. I do not like how the back grip looks and how the hand grip looks over here. So that's some of the things that I will be replacing. Also over here, like the trigger, like I want to go a bit more original. So for example, we would use a trigger like this. For the front grip, I have a few reference images over here. So you can take your pick which one you like most. I'm gonna go for this one over here. So I'm going to grab like a front grip like this. And we have over here like the back grip. I'm going to create this one. So having shown you that, oh wait, we have like the hand grip. The hand grip is going to pretty much be like something in this direction. So I just like these little knobs that we have here. But what I do not want to do is, what I probably want to do is I probably want to just like extend this over so that it still has like the little flap that you can see over here. Because I think that might look quite interesting. So that's just a very quick overview of our reference. Now these reference images, I found them just on Google Images mostly. So it's pretty basic stuff. I just went to Google Images. I just typed in stuff like assault rifle, AR-15, all that kind of stuff. Now I will be including, give me 1 second because I need to just like, there we go. Here we go. I will be including our PureRef location. I will not be including these separate images over here. This is just because technically the images are from Google, so there is copyright on them. But I still want to just include the PureRef just to make sure that it is just a collection. And what I have is I have this special image inside of Photoshop over here. I will not include it inside of Photoshop, but basically all I did was I imported our original image. I then imported the top barrel, which you can see over here. So I just imported this image and cut it up. The reason I'm not covering this is because it's literally just me covering up and changing it. So I just cut this out, right click, and I did a free transform on it. And then just moved it into place, as you can see. And I did the same with like the back grip. And the back grip comes from this image over here. So this one, I just got the back grip. I just grabbed that one. Yeah, I will need to get used to using my PureRefs like this. And I just placed it over here. So very basic stuff. And the only reason I did this is because this makes my life a little bit easier when modeling. Now I kept my hand grip over here because, as I said before, I want to create this flap. So I will probably just end up creating my hand grip. But then later on I will switch over by just looking at reference like we got over here. And like the reference we got over here. In order to just create a whole picture. I think it's also good practice if I don't make everything like one-on-one. Just to show you also how some improvisation looks. So that was pretty much it for just our reference overview. Have a good look. I would recommend just finding a lot of different reference images. For example, for the barrel, we will get like a barrel like this. The iron sights, we will mostly be like looking at this image. So it's very important to just have many different images. Now, of course, many of these images are also quite clean. So just for the texture, I also included some images that have like some damages on them. Some images that show like some good material response and just like some roughness and grease and all that kind of stuff. And just like a general overview of just how the gun would look when it is in different stages of its life and different types of dirtiness and everything like that. So that is our reference. What I'm going to do now is I'm simply going to go ahead and I'm going into Trias Max because I want to just go ahead and set up my reference. Now for this, I have saved this image, and that's the only image that I will also include next to my pure ref. So all these images around it will be gone, but they will be included into the pure ref. But I have my side view over here, which is just like the saved version from Photoshop. You don't have to do this. If you want, you can simply import the whole images and then model from that. But having this side view, I just want to right click and just go to my properties to check my dimensions over here, because I can use that by going into Trias Max and just creating like a very quick plane over here. And for this plane, you just want to go ahead and set the length to the dimensions. So the length is going to be, I believe it's 2091. And then the width, oh no, see, other way around, sorry. I was already thinking about that, 772. And the width is going to be 2091. So it's just going to be basically the exact same size of the rest. Now for my segments, let's just right click so that we can snap those back to 0. Then right click to snap also your positions back to 0. And then I would just scale it down because this is a little bit too over the top in terms of scaling. So I like to just scale it down. Shall we do like 10%? Maybe like 20%. Just make it a little bit bigger, just so that we can work with it with our grid. Now as for the units, I have set my units to centimeters, which is totally fine for something like this. I think centimeters is a good one. And for the rest, well, I'm sure that you've already done this. Basically what you want to do is you want to move your plane back quite a bit so that you have space to actually model and that it's not clipping into the plane. And for the rest, you just want to go to your materials. I always just use the small material editor because I find it to be quicker. So I'm just going to go ahead and select this one, call it ref, go into my maps over here, and then in our diffuse color, you don't really need to select something. All you need to do is just drag in this image and just drag it onto your diffuse color, and then just press the assign material to selection and show material in viewport. There we go. Now I just want to double check by going down here and going to our configure viewports and make sure that our textures are set nice and high. So for 4K, so 4096 is fine. Anti-aliasing, it's always good if you just leave it at like 2 or something. You can go higher, but we are going to have quite a bit of models and geometry in here, which might slow down everything. And for the rest, I believe that all I want to do is go into statistics, check total plus selection, turn on triangle faces, and turn on show statistics in active viewport, and press OK. Or you can press the button 7. And as you can see now over here, we can just keep a track of our poly count, our total poly count, and whatever we have selected. So this image is ready to go pretty much. That's why we did the scaling, so that we do not have any weird stretching and that we do not accidentally stretch it out like this. That is quite important. Now at this point I can just simply right click, go to my object properties and just freeze it. And then just go ahead and then turn off show frozen in gray, so that now we can no longer select it. So yeah, easy stuff. Let's go into our font view and let's set this also to be a default shading view over here. And now a few more things that I want to do is I just want to set up some materials. And basically, if we would create a box, now I'm sure you all know about Alt-X. So Alt-X is X-ray mode, so that we can see our actual image. But I find that Alt-X often, if we have a lot of geometry, still not see-through enough, and it still becomes hard to actually see details. So what I like to do is I like to often just create one material that I will call HP underscore press for presentation. And with this material, just go ahead and set your, not glossiness, set your specular level up. So this will just be like a glossy material. We can get back to that later on and balance it out once we actually have a high poly. This one, which is going to be see-through. And with this one, all I want to do is set my opacity to something low, to like 10. And you can like apply that in here. Now you can see maybe 20. There we go. So now we still have a little bit see-through, but we can still simply go into our perspective view and see the shape. Maybe 30. Yeah, so we can see the shape, but we can still 25. And we can still go through that. So we got that one done. Now I believe that that's pretty much our setup. I will just simply go over at last our source files. So I have a very basic structure that I use. I have an export folder where we will leave all of our exports, a reference folder, a saves folder for the save files, including this one, for example. So I can go file, let's save it. And let's just go ahead and I will save this as main_gun. Save it. And then I just have a textures folder in which I will also make a bakes folder, just for all of our bakes so that we can nicely split it up. So this model, because it is an advanced tutorial, one of the reasons for that is because we already need to start thinking about things like UV unwrapping and texturing, which is way later, but we already need to think about it right now when we are starting to actually model this. Because we are going to use a few techniques where we are going to turn our low poly model into high poly in a very quick succession using ZBrush. But for that we need to have a very good think about how the UVs work. Now I will go over all that stuff, so don't worry about that. What we will be starting with in the next chapter is we will start by just creating this main body. This main body is actually very important because it will decide the thickness of our mesh, a general size, and it will also accommodate the thickness of over here our second part of our main body. And if we mess this up, then everything becomes a problem. Now there will be some easier stuff, so there will be stuff like that I will just time lapse, which is just going to be like some basic modeling. But this one I will definitely do in real time. Things like the magazine I will probably like time lapse. I will probably time lapse like the front piece over here because it's just very basic modeling. But we will do that after I've already shown you some real time stuff, so don't worry about that. Small bits I will just time lapse because they're very basic. I will show you also like in real time how to do the back for a big part, because that one is also quite an interesting shape, and how to do the front grip because the front grip is just an annoying as hell shape to make. So what we will do in the next chapter, we will jump right in and we will start by our main body to decide the correct thickness and everything else like that. So let's continue with that.